I considered not filming this and fixing it off camera. Terrible. Literally 20 hours of hard labor. All right, welcome back to the channel, guys. Today, this is the start of episode 2 of renovating my bungalow here in Salt Lake City. So today's gonna be, or this episode rather, probably a couple days, is gonna be all about flooring. But before I dive into that, actually, I wanted to show you guys a quick something here. So I actually went ahead and installed a new door handle. I figured, I installed it off channel, but I wanted to show you guys, show the channel just in case you guys are interested. So this was, I just bought it from Lowe's. It's a combo lock so that I don't have to have the key out. It's just super sleek and fast to use and really high quality. It's a little expensive, so this whole setup cost $200. But when it comes to Airbnb-ing this place out, it'll allow me to set temporary codes and not have to deal with keys and stuff. And it required no drilling. So if you've wanted something like this, this gets installed as long as your door handle that you currently have has kind of this longer setup and a deadbolt hole. That's all it needs, standard holes. If it doesn't have this longer setup here, it's really easy to install. If you just have just the knob handle here, you will have to drill one small little hole down there to receive your handle here, and it's got like this adjustable thing on the backside, so it doesn't even have to be a perfect location. But anyways, super pleased with this door handle setup. And the first thing we're doing floor wise is, you've probably seen it, but Squeak No More, I guess is the name of it. So it's kind of a cool system. I saw a couple of YouTube videos about it. Basically, you have these screws that snap off, and I'll show you guys in real time. But you have these screws that snap off, so it comes with like this plastic thing here. You pre-drill, and then when you screw in, it goes to that height, and it has a break-off point that is underneath the floor. And I did a couple already just to make sure, not waste time filming. But you'll see here, the screw went in, snapped off underneath, and we'll just take some wood putty and putty that hole. And now the squeak in that section is completely gone. So what I found the best way to find the squeak is actually to do it barefoot, and then you can feel the depression in the floor itself. Right there. So I can see it and feel it. And I will say that they do tell you that it takes multiple screws sometimes to secure the floor down. So this is a really bad section here, right in front of the front door. So I'll probably have to do 4 or 5 screws here. So let me show you how it works. All right, so we're here at the close-up of the floor. I've determined there's going to be quite a few spots here, so this would be a good spot to demo. But one of the bad spots is basically where this crack meets here. There's most likely a joist somewhere around there. The instructions will tell you to use a 1/8 bit first and test out because these screws break off based on resistance, and so you have to get the drill bit to be thin enough for the screw to meet enough resistance. If you go too wide, it won't break off. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't break off. I'll show you here. So this is like a 5/64 drill bit, a nice skinny one, and I tested it out in order to find which drill bit breaks off with my specific floor. That felt like I hit the stud. You don't have to hit the stud, honestly, on some of the squeaks. It's not the end of the world if you don't hit studs. It's hard to find them, on these old floors. I'm not able to get under here. So what you do is you take one of the screws they provide here. It's got a shear off point that's on the screw that you'll be able to see. Place that in the pre-drilled hole, and you'll hear a snap, hopefully, as this goes down. I just take pliers and lift it off. It's snapped off, but pliers help get it out completely. And there we go. Let's test the squeak here. Oh my gosh, already so much better. So this piece here is moving quite a bit and squeaking quite a bit. So we're gonna put this guy down. That's the gist of how these screws work. So I'm gonna go through the rest of this floor off camera. But if you have squeaky floors, and you know, the nice thing about it is these floors are so old that like I'm not trying to get them perfect. So when you're talking about, you know, filling this with wood putty and then having to come over and stain it, look at how many blemishes there are throughout this floor. There's also other places people have put down wood putty. So I'm not too worried about this, you know, ruining, seeing a bunch of little wood putty marks. They're gonna be almost invisible when I show you guys the putty I'm using. So with that being said, I'm gonna dive into this. I'm gonna show you guys something here. Well, one, this spot has been a nightmare. Not really sure, you know, I don't know what's going on with it. These screws worked phenomenally everywhere else, but this one spot, I cannot get the squeak out of it, and it's a pretty large one. To top it off, this screw broke here. So I ran into, most likely, a nail. So now I have this screw sticking up. And I want to show you guys what I did last time. This happened to me one other time. Is take your drill bit, tighten it down very tight, just over the top of the screw, and voila. All right, so I'm basically looking for loud squeaks. I could do this probably all day and not eliminate all the little squeaks. So I'm looking for like big loud squeaks in high traffic areas. Here's the deal, is that I got rid of a lot of major squeaks, but I would say not worth it. I mean, it didn't take me that long. It probably took me 45 minutes. I had 50 screws, went through all 50 screws, stopped some seriously major squeaks. The deal is on this old of a floor, there's so many damn squeaks that, you know, it's gonna drive me crazy if I try and stop them all. So with that being said, I mean, I'll show you some of the major squeaks that I got rid of. This front door was huge squeak beforehand. Now nothing but maybe one or two little tiny squeaks. Let's see, this spot here is a nightmare. So this is basically the one spot I spent probably 12 screws on over the course of like, because it's just this whole area here. Not sure what's going on. I got rid of a huge squeak right here. Well, you know, would I recommend this de-squeak screw thing? If you have like one or two major squeaks in a floor, sure. But if you have a floor like mine, hell no. It's gonna just drive you crazy. So we're gonna have to just leave it there. I don't wanna tear this floor up. It's in pretty good condition still and looks good. And so we're gonna leave it where it is. I'm gonna go get some wood putty. I have to run to, well, you know, what a surprise, I gotta run to Lowe's. So I'm gonna get some wood putty there and pull the trigger on my flooring decision for how to finish this. From what I can tell, I did like an oil test on the floor. If you haven't seen that, you just drop basically some sort of oil. Really, a lot of different oil substances will work, but drop an oil substance on the floor and wait 2 to 5 minutes. If that oil substance starts to soak in, it means that they finished the floor with some sort of oil, whether it's linseed or whatever. This is most likely a lacquer finish. I knew that already, but wanted to test it, and I'll probably just to be sure get a lacquer thinner and do a little lacquer thinner test where you drop a small drop of lacquer on it, and if it starts to erode the finish, it means it's lacquer. So Gonna probably do that test on it. Yeah, so I'll see you guys in a couple hours. I'm gonna head to Lowe's, come back, show you guys what I got. So I just dropped my camera again for like, I don't know, the 10th time. This lens, I don't know, maybe I'll take a photo of it and post it here, but it is cracked to hell and still working though. I mean, at least looks like it's working fine. But I went ahead and bought this lacquer thinner, and a good way to test for sure if it's lacquer, especially if you're a newbie like me and you just can't tell from look or feel, is put this on there and leave it for a minute or two and see if it starts to thin and become sticky and mess with the finish. Boom, that means it's lacquer. It's a little sticky from the thinner and it completely takes off that. That means it's a lacquer floor. So from my understanding, you know, why it's important to determine what the finish was originally on the floor is because oil finishes don't interact well with lacquer finishes, vice versa, and other finishes, etc. So even though I'm sanding this, I'm not gonna sand it down to, you know, the bare bone wood. So there's probably gonna still be some lacquer residue in this wood before I refinish it. So I wanna make sure I go with lacquer-based finish that interacts well with the existing finish. So there we go. We finalized that test. I haven't bought that stuff yet. What I'm gonna do now is sand. Well, actually, I'm gonna go grab some lunch first. Then I'm gonna sand the floor.
Because I could spend 6 more hours sanding it down to the bare bones.
All right, so I considered not filming this and fixing it off camera and just not telling you guys. So I am absolutely devastated. I have spent probably 20 hours of work on this floor, and like hard work, you know, like when you're doing this solo, you're rushing around, you're trying not to let the stain dry, etc. So yeah, I think I did a really good job, except I made one small mistake that I'm not gonna be able to live with. You know, I finished staining and looked at it and chewed on it and tried to fix it and chewed on it and realized there was just no way around it. I was gonna have to start over. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me show you a section that looks good, right? So that's what the whole floor should look like. Now let me show you what I did wrong. I had started in sections and I quickly realized I was screwed, right? So I did just this first section here, as you saw in the clip earlier, and saw my brush lines and thought to myself, well, I should be able to blend it, right? And I knew like, oh man, this is gonna be really hard, but I was pretty sure I was gonna be able to blend it somehow. And so I went ahead and finished the whole floor here, and then I had my final section was just this section right here. So I was like, well, let me just try and do a full strip on this section, see if it's even possible. And it was, you know, my concern was the stain was gonna dry before I finished one of those long sections. And so I now know, you know, one, that I can do long strips, 3 or 4 planks wide, the length of the room, and I know what it's gonna look like. And it looks so good. Well, that's my rant. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm going to end this episode here because it would be way too long of an episode if I continued. I'm going to take this weekend and this coming weekend and refinish this floor. Appreciate you guys watching, hanging out with me. Hopefully this devastated honesty is appealing to you, but it sucks for me. So until next time, guys, I'll see you with a complete floor.